You know, we've been talking about ways to improve our vocabulary.
Yes, sir.
If you remember, yesterday we tried to remind ourselves that a rich vocabulary is almost a sure guarantee of success in your future careers, in your entry tests, and particularly for those who intend to enter the corporate world after completing their studies. In the corporate world means the world of business, good communication, it needs hardly be overemphasized that good communication is a sure key to success. You might have noticed people in ordinary life who can communicate well even in Punjabi or in Urdu. They manage to succeed better than those who lag behind in this respect. So you have got to try and improve your vocabulary. We notice that quite often when we hear people, giving us a talk in English, or if we read a book, we find it difficult, to understand them. Everybody knows this is, you don't need to be a Socrates to understand this fact, that in order to be able to understand good communication, we need to improve ourselves in two ways. We need to improve our vocabulary and we need to improve our knowledge of English grammar. Knowledge of English grammar, because grammar is equally important. Some of the grammatical structures might at times become a hindrance, an impediment. Some of the grammatical structures might at times render you incapable of understanding the meaning of a speaker. For instance, let me give you a very simple, easy to understand example. If somebody says, we are getting late, we had better leave. We had better leave. Now, if you're not familiar with this structure, you might begin to wonder how come that this person says had better and then leave. We had better leave, because maybe you are in the habit of presuming that had must always be followed by third form of the verb. But had better, in fact, the meaning is relevant at the moment of speaking, that we are getting late, we need to hurry, we have got to go home. So grammatical structures. Or another very simple example, for instance, if somebody says, this table is too heavy to move, too heavy to move, it means it is so heavy that I cannot move it. Grammatical structures sometimes become a big impediment. We need to improve our grammar. I keep advising, students to devote at least half an hour of their time from their daily timetable to studying authentic grammar books. But let me tell you, the fact that in increasing vocabulary, we have got to emphasize the importance of reading. Yesterday, if you remember, we were talking about listening, and we reminded ourselves that vocabulary, like speaking and reading and listening and writing. Reading and listening, we reminded ourselves they are two aspects of the comprehension vocabulary. Comprehension vocabulary. Comprehend means to understand. If you are listening to somebody, you cannot understand him, it is so probably because you are not being able to understand some of his words. If you are reading a book, you cannot understand it, so again, probably because you cannot understand some of the words. And yesterday I told you that throughout your lives, this is the age of mass media. We talk about different ages in evolutionary context. We talk about the age of the Neanderthals. We talk about Bronze Age. We talk about Stone Age. We talk about Space Age. We talk about the Atomic Age. But it will be very appropriate to say that this is the age of mass media. Every time you watch it, and television, by the way, it has become a very common piece of furniture in every household. I say piece of furniture. Every household has got a television. And what is it that we watch on television? We watch people, talking about people from different spheres of life, from different departments of life. Some of them could be there from the realm of show business. Some of them could be there from the realm of the academia. Some of them could be there from the realm of journalism. Some of them could be there from the realm of politics. So before you begin to read, you are forced to listen to terminology, words that have a lot to do with journalism, that have a lot to do with academics, that have a lot to do with politics, that have a lot to do with diplomacy. It means that our ears become a big source of enhancing our vocabulary. We listen to many different words. It means that most of our learning of new words is through the ear. And this is one fact that I brought to your notice even yesterday, because these are things that can hardly be overemphasized. It means we listen more than perhaps we read. Depends. Some of you might be avid readers, people who are very fond of readers. But when you are listening to somebody, I told you that you need to be very alert, attentive readers. And even if you do not know the meanings of some of the unfamiliar words, you can understand their meanings from the sense of the conversation. You get some idea of what is it that the speaker is talking about. You get some idea. And from that some idea, if you are attentive, alert listeners, you can guess at the meanings of unfamiliar words. This is called getting the meaning from the context. Getting the meaning from the context. But when you are reading a book, again, you get the meaning of unfamiliar or difficult words from the context. Again, from the context. And what is context? In your junior classes, and let me tell you, by the way, that I know that all the level that I am talking, of the students that I am talking to, the level is BS class, graduate level. We are talking about things at graduate level. Means because we have got to be mindful of the fact as to who the audience is, who are the people who are paying attention to our talk. Okay? So you know that when you read a book, every morning when you go through the newspaper, you get to know new words. Yes. Every new book, you will make you encounter new words. Every magazine will make you encounter new words, particularly in the modern era. I usually say that change is the law of nature. And it's not me saying this. It's a platitude, a fact known to all. Change is the law of nature. But I have the feeling that change has changed its pace manifold. Change has changed its pace manifold. What does it mean? That change is taking place at an extremely rapid pace. Change is taking place at an extremely rapid pace. Change, and particularly in the realm of language, quite a few, new words are entering language every day. And it shouldn't be difficult for us to imagine why is it that so many new words are entering our language every day? Because we are changing rapidly. Our lives are changing rapidly. And IT and new methods, new attitudes, new discoveries, new inventions in the realm of business and IT, they have changed our lives radically, I should say, radically. Altogether changed. Our lives are altogether changed. Not many. Some words, a couple of decades ago, the word television was comparatively new. Not many knew the word television. Not many knew the way the word is composed. Then came along the words like automation, words like Sputnik, comparatively late additions, comparatively. Okay, what does it mean? It means that new discoveries. How many of you have known about nanotechnology? How many of you know much about bioengineering or IT? New terminology being, for instance, I often feel like mentioning Dr. Ataur Rahman. Whenever I hear him making a talk, delivering a talk on television, he talks about different scientific phenomena or different scientific things. And the meanings of the words that he uses are not known to all. It means we are changing, our lives are changing. So every time you pick up a new book, you encounter new words, new terminology, new phrases, and if you do not know how to understand all this, then you'll be in trouble. And I told you that when you're listening to somebody, sense of the conversation will help you a great deal. You can understand the meanings of new words if you follow. Similarly, if you pay full attention to the context when you are reading a newspaper, and I told you that we have got to read a newspaper very attentively only, but when I say do a lot of reading, because reading seems to be one way we can enhance our vocabulary. One way we can enhance our vocabulary. We have got to do a lot of reading. We have got to devour, books. We have got to become avid readers. Hungry, like hungry people. We have got to read like hungry people. But you would say, sir, the problem is that quite often, very frequently, when we read, we come across words, the meanings of which we cannot easily understand. The same rule that applies to paying attention to the spoken word applies to the written word too. What does that mean? It means pay attention to the context. Pay attention to the context. And what is context? You know from your knowledge of junior classes that context means what precedes and what follows a given word. What precedes and what follows a given word. Words, sentences, phrases that surround a new word that would constitute or that would make up the context of that new word. Today, because we are focusing our attention on enhancing vocabulary, enriching our vocabulary from reading, a big source to enrich our vocabulary. So, wide reading, of course, essential, but there are several different types of clues for discovering the meanings of strange words from the context. Today, I intend to attach more importance to the different types of clues. When you're reading a sentence, if I say, well, context is words that surround the given word, the given unfamiliar word. the difficult word, the word that you find difficult. You only need to pay a little attention. You need to make use of a few intelligent strategies, and you will notice that in one sentence, if you come across a difficult word, there would be another similar word in the same sentence. Very frequently, not always, but very frequently, you will notice that the unfamiliar word has another similar word in the close vicinity. Close vicinity. So the first thing is words that are apparently similar in meaning. Words that are apparently similar in meaning. Two words, you know the meaning of one, and you can guess at the meaning of another. You can guess at the meaning of another. For instance, let me give you a sentence. I say, the loud, raucous laughter of the students irritated the new headmaster. Do you get my sentence? The loud, raucous, the word is raucous, R-A-U-C-O-U-S. The loud, and the first word that you have read is loud. The loud, raucous laughter of the students irritated the new headmaster. Now, if you look at the sentence, if it is there in a book, you can guess at the meaning of raucous because you know loud. You know loud. Loud laughter annoyed, offended, irritated the new headmaster. It means that the word raucous too has to have some similar meaning. So raucous in fact means harsh of voice. Harsh of voice. The loud, raucous. So you notice that if we know the meaning of loud, raucous becomes understandable. Yes. We can understand the meaning of the word raucous. Do you understand? Yes. I say that if you pay a little attention, an unfamiliar word, very frequently in its close vicinity, in its neighborhood, nearby, in the same sentence or elsewhere in the same sentence, you will have a similar word, and that similar word will become a clue to understanding the meaning of this unfamiliar word. How many of you understand this? Okay, let me switch over to the next strategy, or the next way, or the next clue that can become a clue to understanding the meaning of an unfamiliar, difficult word. You will notice that very frequently one difficult word has its explanation elsewhere in that sentence, in the same sentence. A difficult word has its explanation in the same sentence or elsewhere in a nearby sentence, either in the same sentence or elsewhere in the nearby sentence. Explanations are there too. For instance, let me give you another sentence and listen to me attentively. Her uncle's benevolence. Now, you are not familiar with the word benevolence. Her uncle's benevolence was well known because of the generosity with which he contributed to the charities. Let me repeat. Her uncle's benevolence was well known. Are you taking it down? Yes. Her uncle's benevolence was well known because of the generosity with which he contributed to charities. Now the word benevolence is a new word. Supposing we do not know the meaning of the word benevolence. Benevolence. Now, her uncle's benevolence was well known because of the generosity with which he contributed to charities. If you look at the sentence attentively, the meaning of the word benevolence is made clear by reference to generous contributions to charities. Generous, you know the word generous. Let me hope you know the word generous. Generous contributions. फयाजाना, हिस्सा डाला किसके लिए? हैराती इदारों में. Charities, institutions that are working for the welfare of the people. That are working for the welfare of the people. Charities. By the way, charity literally does not always mean bakshish. The word charity, if you look up this word in a good dictionary, by the way, dictionary too, either you could pronounce it as dictionary or dictionary. Both the pronunciations are correct. Okay. If her uncle's benevolence was well known because of the generosity with which he contributed to charities. You know the meaning of the word contribute. You know the meaning of the word charity. Charity, literally, dictionary meaning, love. But the word has now begun to mean the help that you give somebody. It has become charity. But it is out of the feeling of love, out of the feeling of empathy or sympathy. That feeling induces you, compels you, forces you to give somebody to that person. So charity, literally, dictionary wise, it would mean love. Okay? So benevolence, you do not know the meaning of the word benevolence, but you know contribute, generosity, charities. So contributed, generous contributions to charities. Generous contributions to charities would help you guess at the meaning of the word benevolence. So benevolence would mean giving with a great open heart. कुशादा दिली से खैरात करना, सहावत करना, ये बन जाएगी. और benevolence means generosity. So you have got another word, you have got the explanation in the same sentence. My strategy is that the first thing that we've talked about is that similar words. Second thing that I'm trying to hammer home is that if you come across a difficult word, very frequently, if you are attentive, you would notice that the explanation of that difficult word would be given somewhere in the same sentence. And then another interesting way that can help you guess at the meanings of difficult, unfamiliar words. Words used in contrast. Words used in contrast. And by the way, when we continue this discussion, we shall start talking about the use of antonyms and synonyms. Another way to enhance or to enrich your vocabulary. At the moment, I only mean to emphasize the fact that if in a sentence, while reading a book, while reading a paragraph, you come across a difficult word, you will notice that words used in contrast, they can also be a big help. The meaning of a new word, you can always understand because you already know its opposite. Yes. You can always guess, the meaning of a difficult word because you already know the meaning of its opposite. I'll give you an example. For instance, if I say from the smallest, please listen to me attentively, from the smallest town to the largest metropolis, from the smallest town to the largest metropolis came letters of commendation on the president's speech. From the smallest town to the largest metropolis came letters of commendation on the president's speech. Do you all get it? From the smallest town to the largest metropolis came letters of commendation on the president's speech. Now, you do not know the meaning of the word metropolis, but you know the meaning of, certainly know the meaning of smallest.
Yes.
From the smallest town to the largest metropolis. So you get some idea that metropolis has got to do something big,
Yes.
something important,
Yes.
something more significant. So metropolis is a large, important city, in many cases even the capital of a country, metropolis. But every metropolis doesn't have to be the capital. Lahore is a metropolitan city. Faisalabad too, nowadays, we could say it's a metropolitan city, but our metropolis is Islamabad.
Yes, sir.
So, from the smallest town to the largest metropolis came letters of commendation, appreciation, approval, liking excessively. Okay? From the smallest town to the largest metropolis came letters of commendation on the president's speech. So if you look at the sentence, metropolis becomes a contrasting word. It's used as a contrast to the word smallest. Guessing at the meaning of this word is not at all difficult. Let me give you another example. Just one will do. Of course, we can have many examples, but for consideration of time, I'll give you just one example. Will the students, listen to my sentence, will the students progress or retrogress? Retrogress, R-E-T-R-O-G-R-E-S-S. Will the students progress or retrogress under the new course of studies? Progress Be mindful of this stress mark, this short vertical mark, vertical line. Okay? Progress, emphasizing the second syllable, using the word as a verb. Will the students progress or retrogress? Retrogress under the new course of studies. You know the meaning of progress. So, will the students progress or retrogress under the new course of studies? We are not sure about it. The course has only recently been put into operation. The results are yet to be seen. But you can guess that retrogress probably means going back or declining or becoming worse. Isn't it? Yes. Let me give you another sentence. The wages ranged ranged from a minimum of $40 to a maximum of $80 per week. The wages ranged from a minimum of $40 to a maximum of $80 per week. Now, supposing you do not know the meanings of words minimum and maximum, but you do know the relative values of $40 and $80. Now, this knowledge will enable you to guess at the meanings of minimum and maximum. So if you have been attentive in all these three sentences that I have just dictated, if you know the meaning of the word town, the relative value of $40 and $80, and the word progress and retrogress. Word progress, you know, it is not at all difficult to understand the meanings of metropolis or minimum, maximum, and retrogress. So the strategy is, what is the strategy? Words used in contrast. The first one was, in the same sentence you will have similar words. The second was, the explanation of the word that is difficult could be there somewhere in its neighborhood. And the third clue is that if you are attentive, a little attentive, focus your attention on the opposite word, guessing at the meaning of the new unfamiliar word would not be difficult at all. And the last thing before we wind up today's talk is that the last clue could be hidden definitions. You could jot it down. We'll talk about it later on. I'll give you more exercises to do. Hidden definitions. Very interesting. Frequently, a new word appears in a context that defines it. Hidden definition in the same sentence. It is somewhat like another clue that we have discussed today, and that is explanation in the same sentence. And now I am saying hidden definition. Hidden definition. For instance, and you need to jot it down, the salutary, S-A-L-U-T-A-R-Y, the salutary effect of the new treatment was obvious from the general improvement in his health. The salutary effect of the new treatment was obvious from the general improvement in his health. Now, you do not know the word salutary. You do not know the meaning of the word salutary. But if you look at the sentence, the salutary effect of the new treatment was obvious from the general improvement in his health. Whatever be the kind of treatment, we are told about the general improvement in his health. So this phrase, the general improvement in his health, whatever be the nature of treatment, the result is the general improvement in somebody's health. This would give you the meaning that salutary means conducive to promoting good health, promoting good health. Salutary means promoting good health. So let me recapitulate, because we are about to wind up today's discussion. Let me recapitulate that we've been talking about 4 different clues. The first one was, I'm trying to recapitulate for your benefit. The first one was that words are apparently similar in meaning. If you come across an unfamiliar word, look at the sentence attentively, you might find another, similar word. The second was explanation elsewhere in the same sentence. If you are attentive, you might the word explained in a slightly different manner in the same sentence. And the third clue was that you find contrasting words, and the contrasting word will let you know the meaning of the word that is there for you to encounter for the first time. And the last clue that we've talked about is hidden definitions. So when we meet again, I might give you a few sentences and ask you to use your knowledge of the clues that we have been talking about. When we meet again, let me tell you that I have not been able to say everything I wanted to say on enhancing, enriching our vocabulary. When we meet again, we might talk about making use of, because let me tell you that most of the words in English language, they happen to have Latin or Greek origins. Some few could be there with German origin, some few could be there with Scandinavian origin, but mostly English language seems to have benefited a great deal from Latin language. And then comes Greek language. So most of the English words, they have either Latin or Greek roots or Latin or Greek affixes. So jot down 3 terms. When we meet again, we'll talk about affixation, the importance of affixation and roots. Affixes, AFFIX, affix, prefix, PREFIX, suffix, SUFFIX. Prefixes and suffixes together are called affixes.
Yes, sir.
Prefix and suffix. Prefix and suffix together called affixes. And roots. When we meet again, we'll continue this discussion for a little while, and we'll wind up our discussion of ways to enhance or enrich our vocabulary. Thank you very much.